Hello there, welcome to lesson number 10 in our series on using FluidDesigner for 3D printing to create earrings. In this lesson we're going to show you how you can create a cube-shaped earring with two cubes interlocking. So if you start FluidDesigner up, first thing you need to do is to go to Learning Projects, Jewellery Projects, Earrings, and we're doing lesson number 10. So you scroll down to number 10, so it's 10 cube earring, and this is the Blender file. So you just drag and drop that onto the workspace. And so this is the object that we're going to create. Now we have joined those two cubes together. We're just going to basically create one of them and then use the join command to join the two together. So what do we need to do? Well, we need to add a mesh and add a cube. So if we go to add mesh and then cube. Okay, now if we just go to view and zoom to selected, you'll see there's our cube. At the moment it's only 2mm by 2mm by 2mm. We actually want dimensions of 20 by 20 by 20. So we could just type in here 20mm, 20mm and 20mm. And then if we just zoom out with the just scrolling the center mouse button. Remember always in FluidDesigner, when you do size things up like that, when you change the scale, you always need to go to Control A and reset the scale, otherwise you are going to have printing problems. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to wireframe this object, and we do that in using a modifier. So we go to Modifier's icon in the Properties window, and we go to Add Modifier, and we're going to use a wireframe modifier. So there's our cube, and the values we want to set up, we're going to keep the thickness as 0.02, so the thickness factor quite small. We're going to have the offset at 0. Now what the offset at 0 means is that when we solidify this, it's going to add some volume on inside and outside of the wire. So, and we're going to do that evenly. So we've ticked even thickness. Okay, so we've got a wireframe modifier. Now the next thing we want to do is to solidify this. So we're going to do that with a solidify modifier. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to set the thickness to 1mm. And if we zoom in there, one of the things it's advisable to look for when you're doing wireframe with the solidifier is you look at the joints to see if there are any issues, if there's any peculiarities. Now if I change this offset value, you can see the object does change, and it thins out quite considerably if the offset is 0. It doesn't look quite the same sort of thing. We're going to set the offset at 1, okay, which gives it that sort of appearance, and it looks nice and neat when you look around the object at the moment. So that's what we want, a thickness of 1 and an offset of +1. If there's any kind of strange appearance, things sticking through, always change the offset. It's not so bad in this instance because it's quite a simple object. Now we need to apply these two modifiers to confirm them, and we always do that in FluidDesigner with Tools, Object Tools, and convert it to a mesh. Now the next thing we're going to do is to create the second copy of this. So with this wireframe cube highlighted, all we need to do is to go to Tools, Object Tools, and make a duplicate object. Now if you click this, and then if you press the Enter key on the keyboard, the duplicate object will be in exactly the same place as the existing object. If you move the mouse, the duplicate object will move somewhere else. And we recommend, it's a good idea probably to put it where the original is. Now if we just go to View and view this object from the front, the new object should be highlighted, and it says up here cube 001. That should be the new object. So if we just move this down, you can see that it is selected, and we just try it, yep. And then if we just move it to the right, and notice I've tried to move it evenly. Okay, so that's put the new cube there neatly. Oh, it's not quite neatly inside, as you can see. We've still got it interfering on the back here. Okay, so we were viewing it from the front, and we've dragged it down and dragged it to the right. If we now view it from the right hand side, so in other words we're looking at it from this side, view it from the right hand side, you can see we need to offset it to the right as well. So we needed to offset it in 3 different directions so that it fits in there like that. Now we can now delete the original one, so it's highlighted, and press X to delete. And so if we view this from the front, it looks like that. View it from the left, view it from the right, and view it by tilting it around. Okay, now clearly you can decide whether or not you want these objects to be touching each other, or whether you want them to be hanging loose one inside the other. And so you do have that preference. So if we go to view and front, for example, if we highlight this one, if we actually bring it down like that, then clearly the objects would overlap there, and we'd need to join them such that there are no internal faces. So if we create an object like this, it's very important that when you join the 2 objects you use a Boolean modifier, because what the Boolean modifier will do, it will create a union between the 2 existing objects, and it will get rid of any internal faces. If I go to wireframe there, you can't really actually see the internal faces as such. But if we join these 2 together just using the join command, we would get some internal faces here when they're overlapping. The correct way to do it, if you want them overlapping, is to use a Boolean modifier, and that should delete any internal faces. Now in this example we're not actually going to do that, so I'm going to move it back up to there again, and in this example we're going to have them kind of one inside the other like that. And because we're just doing it this simple way, in FluidDesigner, we, instead of bothering with the Boolean, we don't need to worry about the Boolean. We can, if we just press the A key on the keyboard, that deselects all, and A selects all, so both of these objects are selected now. And if we go to Tools, Object Tools and Join, we'll join the selected objects into one. So we've actually only got one object now. Now the interesting thing about doing that is, where is the center of this object? Well, it's here at the moment. But is that the true center for these 2 objects? Well, it probably isn't. So if we go to Tools, Object Tools and Origin Tools, if we set the origin to the geometry of the 2 joined objects, this should move. So Origin Tools, if we go to the origin of the geometry, you'll notice that it moves to here. So that's the origin now of these 2 joined objects. And the other thing that we could do with that is to set it back to the cursor, which is the normal default point. So if we go cursor, and if we snap the selection means this object at the moment, the two cubes. If we snap the selection to the cursor, this is the cursor, we'll set the origin to the center there. So if we open up the Properties panel, we've got the dimensions of the object, but the location of it is at 000, the origin. Not important to do that, but it just gives you some idea of what origins are and what geometry origins are. Okay, so there's our 2 cubes. So what we can do is we can save these now. So as is usual in FluidDesigner, we go to File and Save As. Go up through the menu system. We're doing earrings, so it's My Projects, Jewellery Projects, Earrings. Save lesson number 10 as cube earring, as a Blender file. and we can then export it as a wavefront object, which is the printable file format, and we like to export it to the desktop, so it's number 10 cube earring OBJ file, and then always go to Netfab Basic, go to Project and Open, and go to the desktop and open number 10, the cube earring, and you'll see there's our object, and we need to just go to Extras and repair the part. Not expecting any problems, it's quite a simple object this. So there are no border edge, no orientation, no holes. We seem to have 4 shells for some reason, not quite sure why we've got that many, but let's just execute it and run it. Still says 4. But anyway, let's just apply the repair and remove the old part. Okay, so we haven't got any warning red triangles, so we should be able to go to Part, export the part as a wavefront object, export it to the desktop as a repaired file, and that's the file you would send to the printer. Okay, so there's how you can create a simple cube earring in FluidDesigner. Thank you.